There are many different ways to pick your quadrants. Although there are many different variations that you can have your quadrants laid out, depending on how many numbers you would like to have in each quadrant. These are just a few examples. There could be many different reasons you might play these different variations. Maybe you have been going to a certain casino and notice certain numbers always seem to come out. Or you have a suspicion that there may be a bias on a wheel. Or you could just like these patterns of quadrants, cause it's fun. There are many different reasons to play quadrants. For the purpose of this video, I will use the ones in all my previous videos. This one we will go with 4 quadrants that cover 15 numbers. Hot numbers strategy. First one is choosing a quadrant based on hot numbers and where they first form. Hot numbers are typically where a number will show up more than often, or a group of numbers. As demonstrated here, we are waiting for a consecutive number to show up. Now that 29 has shown up in quadrant 3 and 4, you would have a choice. Picking either one on the basis of hot numbers is fine. Or you can wait for more confirmation of numbers, which will be shown later in the video. For the purposes of picking a quadrant using a hot number, this is how you would do it. Now for the next way of picking a selected quadrant. Clusters strategy. As you can see in these graphs, it doesn't need or have to be a certain number that shows up. It can be clusters of numbers that show up and its neighboring numbers within a certain quadrant. Using cold numbers as well as hot numbers. In that same scenario, these can be considered cold numbers. This can give us extra information on how to make a more informed decision on what quadrant to pick. We can minus these cold numbers from the hot numbers that have formed, leaving us with only hot numbers, making our decision easier. Since the majority of hot numbers have formed in quadrant 2, combining hot numbers minus cold numbers with clusters, this one is ultimately your best choice. As you can see here, that hot numbers and clusters have formed in a major way within a quadrant. Minus cold numbers, giving you a more precise decision on a quadrant. Hot numbers and clusters can change, so keep track of the numbers that come out and in what quadrant. If you're playing in a brick and mortar casino, an easy way to tell is by looking at the display of hot and cold numbers. Be on the lookout though, as sometimes they do not display the number correctly on the screen with the numbers that actually hit. This strategy takes time to learn, as it's not an easy fix like most table strategies out there. This requires you to learn what numbers goes into each quadrant and memorizing all of those intimately. An easier way of doing this is to pick out what kind of quadrant format you want, then memorizing the pattern that it makes on the table. Also, in conjunction to that, you have to also know your betting progression strategy inside and out. Also, at what progression step you're at. If you lose focus, you unfortunately have to start again. Flat betting quadrant style is easier, but it also doesn't yield the same results. Ultimately, it's just a different way of playing the game of roulette. Your best chance of turning a profit is to keep your sessions short and manage your bankroll effectively. Like and subscribe to keep updated on new techniques and a different perspective on the game of roulette. Most of all, have fun.